I'd been single for a while, so my buddy suggested I try out the new dating app he'd met his girlfriend on. Hey, I figured it worked for him, so I may as well give it a try. I set up my profile, and over the next week or so, I exchanged a few messages, but nothing that went anywhere. Then this girl named Jess messaged me. She told me she was in the city for a few weeks to care for her sick aunt. She looked pretty cute from the looks of her profile. And although her messages were quite short, she seemed easy to chat to. So when she messaged saying her cousin was over for the night to look after her aunt, I took my shot and asked her if she wanted to meet up. She replied yes almost instantly. I sent her the time and place, my favorite bar nearby, then quickly got ready and drove out to meet up. I picked it because it was a short drive from where I lived and it never got too rowdy there. When I arrived, the bar was pretty quiet and it seemed like Jess hadn't arrived yet. I ordered a drink and went and sat in the corner and diverted my attention between my phone and the door. Not long after that, an older woman came in, about 50-ish and wearing a long gray dress that trailed on the floor. She shuffled over to a table on the opposite side of the room to me and sat down. I assumed she was waiting for someone, so I didn't think any more about this and went back to looking between my phone and the door. When 15 minutes after we agreed to meet there was still no sign of Jess, I started to wonder if I'd been stood up. I sent her a quick message saying, "Hey, are you here yet? I'm at the far table." After I put down my phone, I noticed that older woman staring at me. She had this unnerving smile on her face, and even though she saw me looking back at her, she wouldn't quit staring. Great. So at this point, it looked like I'd not only been stood up, but now this strange woman was giving me the creeps. I decided to try calling Jess, and if she didn't answer, then I was out of there. As soon as I called her, the strange music started up from right across the room where that woman was sitting. It sounded like a distorted old nursery rhyme mixed with these high-pitched wails. It was so unsettling that I noticed a few other customers covering their ears. When I ended the call, that weird music stopped. Then I saw the woman still staring at me with this creepy, smiling, non-blinking glare. At this point, I was pretty convinced that she was Jess, even though she was not the girl from the picture. I wanted to be sure, so I was about to call Jess's number, but then a reply to my last message popped up from Jess. All it said was, "I know. I can see you." My eyes darted to that staring woman. She had one arm under the table, so I couldn't see if she was holding a phone or anything. I wanted to be sure, so I called Jess's number again, and immediately, that creepy music started up. But as soon as I ended the call, the music stopped. Completely freaked out, I decided I was just going to get out of there. I got up to leave when I realized that the woman wasn't staring at me anymore. In fact, I watched her stand up and shuffle out of the bar. Then as soon as she left, I got another message from Jess saying, "I can always see you." I felt a wave of panic, but I didn't want to stay there. I needed to leave. As I walked out into the quiet, dark parking lot, I felt so terrified that the creepy woman would be sitting in my car that I checked the trunk in the back seat before I drove off. The next day, when I had time to reflect on the situation, I went on the app to flag and report Jess's profile, only I discovered that it had already been deleted. I don't know what that staring woman wanted with me, and I guess I never will. One thing's for sure, I know it'll be a long time before I ever think about using any dating apps again. I was the only single one out of my friends, so I finally gave in and downloaded Tinder and started swiping through profiles. Only the few matches I received either didn't go anywhere or the conversations fizzled out pretty quickly after. Then one day, while out having lunch with my dad at our local Mexican restaurant, this attractive waitress served us. I thought about asking for her number, but I chickened out and missed my chance. So instead, after saying goodbye to my dad, I sat in my car in the parking lot and narrowed down my distance specifications on the app. I swiped through photo after photo in the hopes this waitress's photo would show up, but no luck. However, another girl came up who caught my eye, so I swiped right on her. Immediately, we came up as a match and I clicked on her profile. She was named Lydia, 23, and according to the app, she was 200 meters away from me. I figured she must work in the restaurant as there was no other buildings for miles. I sent her a lighthearted message saying, "Hi, so apparently we're currently neighbors." My phone immediately beeped with her reply saying, "I know. I can see you from here." I thought she was joking, so I typed back, "Oh yeah? In that case, I hope I look good." Then she replied something that freaked me out. "Green suits you, but you should lose the cap. I don't like it when you hide your face." How did she know what I was wearing? Had she seen me in the restaurant? I peered around, and even though there was no one there, I got this weird feeling that someone was watching me. I just wanted to get out of there, so I threw my phone onto the passenger seat and drove away. For the entire drive home, my phone beeped non-stop. I didn't know what was going on, but it was affecting my concentration. So when the raccoon ran out into the road, it was a pure miracle that I managed to swerve in time. I pulled up onto the side of the road and caught my breath. My phone kept on beeping, so I grabbed it to check what was going on. They were all messages from Lydia, dozens of them. Each of them a running commentary on my movements. "You shouldn't frown so much when you drive. Why are you leaving in such a hurry? Slow down. You'll hit something. I saw that raccoon coming." Then the messages suddenly changed in tone. "Fear suits you. It's intoxicating. I like the sound of your beating heart. I want to carve it out and keep it in a jar. Carve it out for me. Gift it to me. Why won't you do this for me? I hope you crash so I can carve out your heart." I was completely freaked out, but I was on a deserted road with no one around. I just didn't understand how anyone could be watching me. I deleted the Tinder app then and there, and turned my phone off completely. I tried to shake off the unsettling feeling, and told myself that it was all over. I tried to forget about my ordeal and carried on with my life, making sure to stay well away from any more dating apps. About a month or so later, when my car was being serviced, the mechanic called me and told me that I needed to get over there ASAP. I asked him what was wrong, but he refused to tell me over the phone, and again just told me to come over there quickly. When I showed up, he came over to me and passed me this small black object, no bigger than a standard-sized eraser. It was a spy camera. He told me he found it attached to my rearview mirror, but that wasn't the only thing he'd found. Inside the glove box was a sealed Ziploc bag containing a small, dried heart, most likely a rodent's. It meant that whoever Lydia was, they'd been spying on me for however long the camera battery lasted before running out of power. They had somehow planted the camera and heart inside my car. Now I'm constantly on edge that this isn't over, and that they're still out there, watching me. I'd been using several different dating apps, but all it led to was a string of boring dates. I was getting a bit sick of it, but my roommate told me to give it another try. I uploaded some new pictures and sent out a few messages, and I got talking to this one guy named Ryan. After a few days of message swapping, we arranged to meet up in the local park. My first impressions were that he clearly was the same guy from his pictures, but there seemed something off about him. He was really quiet. It only said, "Oh yes," and "Okay," to anything I asked him. At the time, I put it down as nerves, but thinking back on it, it was definitely more than that. He had this vacant look in his eyes, and seemed to be distracted by something. He bought me a coffee and we wandered around the park for a bit, not saying much to each other besides the occasional polite small talk. The sun began to set and it was getting dark. It was a relief to finally have a good excuse to leave. I thought that would be it. He seemed completely uninterested in me, so it was a surprise when he texted me saying he'd had a good date and invited me over to his place. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, So I replied saying although I'd had a good date too, I really didn't see us being anything more. After that, Ryan's mood changed, and he completely freaked out. He called me a cheat and a liar and accused me of ruining the special connection we had. He'd kept saying he'd make me pay for it. What? I barely knew this guy. We'd only been on one date. I decided to block him and forget about it, but before I could do this, another message came through from him, telling me that he'd cursed me so that whoever I dated next would pay the price until my judgment day arrived. At this stage, I thought this guy was completely delusional, so I didn't think much of his threat and just blocked him. He put me off dating for a while. But then eventually my friend persuaded me to go on a blind date with this guy named Chad. At the end of it, we swapped numbers. As I walked over to my car, I saw a sticky note on the windshield in the shape of a heart. On it was a single number written in smeared red ink, the number 6. I couldn't see anyone about, so I scrunched up the note, put it in my pocket, and drove off. The next day I messaged Chad but received no reply. Then I got a text from my friend saying that Chad had been in a car accident and was now in a coma. At this point, I didn't connect the note to Ryan's threat, so soon after that I went on a date with Adrian. He was nice enough, but there was no real spark there, so I said goodbye and walked over to my car to find another heart-shaped note on it, with a smeared red number 5. Then a few days later, when I was looking on social media, I found out that Adrian had been in an accident and was now in a coma. I tried convincing myself that it was a coincidence, but I still had this unnerving feeling eating away at me. It was a couple of months later when I started dating again, this time with an old high school friend, Heath. Afterward, I offered to give him a lift home, but as we walked over to my car, I spotted another heart-shaped note, this time with a still dripping red number 4 on it. Furious, I looked around the parking lot and yelled, "Who's out there? What do you want, you freak?" I tried explaining what was going on to Heath, but my outburst must have creeped him out and he hurried off. I only know what happened to him through a mutual friend. That same evening, he'd had an allergic reaction to something and was now in a coma. Ryan had to be behind this. I swear he's out there somewhere, determined to ruin my life. Now I don't know what to do. I can't take the risk and go on another date. I don't want anyone else getting hurt, and I don't want to know what judgment will be waiting for me if the countdown reaches 0.